The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Jesus told his disciples a parable. Can a blind person guide a blind person? Will not both fall into a pit? Not disciple is superior to the teacher, but when fully trained, every disciple will be like his teacher. Why do you notice the splinter in your brother's eye, but do not perceive the wooden beam in your own? How can you say to your brother, "Brother, let me remove the splinter in your eye," when you do not even notice the wooden beam in your own eye? You hypocrite! Remove the wooden beam from your eye first. Then you will see clearly to remove the splinter in your brother's eye. A good tree does not bear rotten fruit, nor does a rotten tree bear good fruit. For every tree is known by its own fruit. For people do not pick figs from thorn bushes, nor do they gather grapes from brambles. Good person out of the store of goodness in his heart produces good, but an evil person out of a store of evil produces evil. For from the fullness of the heart the mouth speaks. The Gospel of the Lord. Please be seated. I would like to start by saying that normally the Sunday, and not normally, always, we have 3 readings, a first one, a second, and a gospel. And normally out of each one of those, we can bring something practical out of those readings. Why? The Catholic Church is asking out of your goodness. It is marked as an obligation, but at the end, it is your free will to come to the Sunday Mass. It is one obligation that we have. So Sunday becomes, for many people, one of the sources of all graces that will give company during the week. For some people, it is not so easy to come to daily Mass, so what they are receiving today, it should be like a battery that is recharged on Sunday and it needs to last for the week. Yes or no? Yes. Well, for the priest, I come to daily Mass. Because without me, there's no Mass. So I have to, right? There we go. So in the first reading, it is telling for us to test. That is like the first part, that it's a practical thing, to test. And it is given examples. When you shake something, the particles that are small, they will go away, they will fade, and you will be able to get the bigger pieces, shaking that. In our spiritual life, maybe we should consider also what is to shake ourselves, what is to test. And in that first reading, it is asking one particular thing, and it is the words. When we come to daily Mass or to the Mass, we say, "I confess to Almighty God," and we call 4 things, because I have sinned of my thoughts, my words, my actions, and my omissions, the things that I was supposed to do and I didn't do, right? And in that reading, it is marking words. Why? The Lord will say then, out of the goodness, out of the store of goodness, people will bring the goodness out. But if your store, it is full of evil things, well, the normal thing that it's going to happen is that you will bring that. So first reading is marking, how are you going to fulfill? How are you going to fill that store? Well, the words, it is part of that. There's people that they are very fast to talk. They talk and then they think what they are saying. In Christianity, we need to profit of the exercise of meditation, to think a little bit before the words go out. Why? If you have seen in your experience, when words are out, what happens? Are they coming back? They're gone. So whatever you said, it will produce what you are saying. If you say, for example, "Ooh, I love you," right? But you're not so sure that you love, right? You're telling that person, "Oh, that she loves me. She loves me. I'm going to go get the ring," right? "I'm going to kneel and ask for marriage." And you're saying, "Ooh, I love you." But you're not saying that well. So what happens then? When the person comes back to make solid your affirmation of love, what's going on with you? Your words are already out. You will need to amend, make corrections that are painful. In religious communities, even, we do an exercise every Thursday. And Thursdays for religious communities, it is the day of silence. And normally we only talk on Thursdays in case of an emergency, right? A brother is dying. Well, you need to say something. "Hey, brother, it's dying." Do something, right? But for the most part of the day, we remain silent. Why? We are training ourselves. We are testing ourselves to be able to have the strength to be silent in the moment of temptation, to answer a little bit better. And if you recall, one big example of how words, they become a blessing, it is the example of Mary. When you check the Most Blessed Virgin Mary in the Bible, you don't get many phrases and words from her. It is very punctual. "Be done to me according to your will." Do whatever he tells you. How is that going to happen? I don't understand. Those are like precise lines, but they come out of an experience of practice in silence. So out of that first reading, something practical. Why don't we, because I need to include myself in that, why don't we profit of this week to see what are our words? I will go to the next example with the second reading. We have a big advantage. A very big one, by the way. In the gospel, it's telling that a rotten tree will give rotten fruit. That's for the trees. They are not able to change. A rotten tree is not able to say, "Ooh, now I'm going to be a good one." No, the rotten tree dies like that. It doesn't have the capacities. Not for us. Not for us. If we test ourselves and we see that there's something that is not doing well in us, we can change it. And that is a big advantage. You cannot say, "Oh, that person is evil and will stay evil forever and ever." And I can give you a very clear example of that. Who was the first man to enter heaven? That we can affirm that person entered heaven. Demas. You know who he is? It's the thief next to Jesus, right? So we have a very evil person next to Jesus. He's crucified not only for being a thief, but he's also a murderer. According to our ways, where does he go? He goes to hell, my friend. Goodbye. Don't even bother, right? But in the ways of God, that man was able to change. In the last hour, he recognizes that the Savior is next to him. He goes out of his experience of suffering. "Lord, remember me when you go to your kingdom." The Lord affirms, "Today you will be with me in paradise." So we can affirm a person that is in heaven out of those words. But what I'm trying to mark in here is that if a man like that was able to change, we cannot call to ourselves, "I cannot do it. It is not for me. I'm going to remain like that. Father, all my life I have fought this." No, it is for us to understand that we have a power that resides out of the power of God to make those changes. We can do it, yes or no? Or do you think that God is just like losing time? Like, I know that they're not going to make it, but let's have fun with them. Do you think that God is like that? No. He knows that you can do it. So it is out of an experience of a first reading, testing yourself, and also understanding with the second reading, where are you headed? The apostle says that we are headed to immortality and incorruptibility, right? We are having those two things out of the generosity of God. But we need to train in order to receive a good one. Because it could become, if we don't pay attention to our lives, an immortality of pain. Yes, to be set apart from God. So in here, for Christianity, we don't point out to that. We are not scared like, ooh, pain and pain. No, that's not the walk. That's not the way that we're walking. We are walking knowing that we're heading back to the goodness. We're heading back to the creator of all, to the experience of eternal love. Finally, I will enter then in this practice that we are doing with the readings, that the gospel is marking that our path, our walk, it is not a solitude one. It is not a walk that it's my walk and goodbye. The Lord is marking that he also commands to us, the brothers and the sisters. And he is asking for us to be able to share an experience. But it is an experience that comes out of goodness and a real experience with God. In other words, can you give what you don't have? Huh? Can you give joy when you are not joyful? Maybe you can fool one or two, but are you really transmitting joy? Can you give to Father Ivan $1 million? If you are with the Bank of America calling you every single day? Huh? Can you? No. We cannot give what we don't have. So the Lord is telling, prepare yourself, test yourself, get the goodness that you need. And in that way, you are going to be able to help the people that are close to you. The Lord gives the famous example. Why don't you pay attention to the little things? Why do you pay attention to the little things that are in the eyes of your brothers when you don't see the wooden beam in your own? So it is for us to discover. It is for us to be humble. I need that help. I need to set myself according to God. And then my experience, my words, and my examples are going to make a change in others. I will finish with this. One of the desires of humanity, it is to change the world to a good one. There's not even one single person that desires the world in really bad shape. Only the enemy of God. But for us, we would like to have a fantastic world. A world where we are loved and we're able to support and love others. That is a desire that all of us have. But there's a little mistake that I see is repeated in the history of humankind. And it is that we expect for somebody else to change the world. Ooh, that person is going to make it. Ooh, those laws, those new laws are going to make it. Ooh, finally they are proposing good things. And it doesn't happen like that. The change, it is not for the others to change in order that someday I will make the decision to change myself. No, instead of that, the Lord was very clear. The changes, they go from small to big, right? That's the way that creation works, by the way. 44 years ago, I was in the size of a little cell like this, myself. Now check it out. Check this wonder. From small to big. The change of the world goes the same way. It is from my little world, from my little home, from my neighbors, from my wonderful wife. It is a small circle. And I start making those little changes. Think if the world was thinking that way, everybody paying attention to what belongs to them, the little details, the world itself. It will bring the fire of God, and it will change without us knowing when it happened. It goes that way. So it is Jesus Christ interested in big crowds. Oh, the entire United States change now. Is Jesus Christ working with crowds? I don't think so. He works one by one, and the Bible marks that. He even knows your name. He knows your name, and it is marked in the book of life. And he walks one by one. And that change is personal. Personal, but it is extended later to the society that it's in need. I'll say that I can talk for 4 more hours, but the father from 9:45 will shoot me. So I'm not going to talk more. But I would like you to review what we just said. Try to get proper and practical things for your week. In that way, the gospel becomes alive in your life.